In the city of Kansai, a young girl's life changed when she got arrested for not being able to pay for her food. She ended up joining a group of criminals known as Akudama to free two kids that were to be used as sacrifice. Because of these troublesome kids, she was at death's door at every turn and still couldn't have a decent meal. In the city of Kansai, where technology seemed to have advanced beyond measure, it still looked like the shittiest slums you could think of. A young girl just clocked out from work and went to get some stuff for dinner. On her way, she rescued a black cat from nearly becoming roadkill as it tried to cross the road. She should have let it experiment with its 9 lives. She got to a vendor's shop that was selling takoyaki after that. She met a purple-haired man who happened to drop his money as he was buying some food. She tried to return it, but the man just ate his food and drove off. Talk about a rich dude. She returned to buy her food but didn't have cash to pay, and she didn't want to use the one she picked up. The vendor thought the girl was trying to swindle her and called the police. Our cat lady ended up in the police station amongst many other criminals. So much for being a good citizen. The purple-haired guy is later seen with 2 other men who told him to deliver a package and paid him for it. I see why he couldn't be bothered about some little dropped money. He is later introduced as courier. He got to the location where there was a gang war and dropped off the package. Seconds later, a bomb went off and the gang war ended quickly. He then got a delivery request on his phone to which the client had already transferred the sum of 100 million yen. Later on, a few other people are introduced and given the same mission to rescue Cutthroat, who was about to be executed by the police. A madman known as Brawler, who just kept beating the police robots for fun. A hacker who broke into the Kansai central bank system but couldn't ward off an unknown number texting him. Hacker indeed. A woman with her melons about to fill my whole screen known as Doctor. However, she killed the passengers on a train in the process of performing surgery for someone who had a heart attack. Yeah. I don't even understand what happened there. They got to the police station and Brawler caused a ruckus that alerted the police. The police referred to these criminals as Akudama and tried to stop them from releasing Cutthroat. The Akudama eventually got into a fight amongst themselves when our cat girl found herself in the midst of them. She was trying to save a cat again but couldn't tell they caused all her problems in life. She then lied that she was an Akudama named Swindler just like them to save herself. She told them she managed to trick the system and they believed her. Bunch of fools. While they still argued, a giant robot showed up and started attacking them. They ended up destroying the underground cells and another Akudama known as Hoodlum was freed. They got to the execution grounds as the countdown began and put a halt to it. Courier got trapped while he fought the robot, but Swindler helped him by distracting it. She actually just told the robot to attack Hoodlum, and I really wanted him gone as well. Courier destroyed the robot thanks to that. Cutthroat, who was now free, killed the chief of police, and Courier handed his package to him. The package happened to be collars that got around their necks and would explode if they tried to take it off. While they tried to figure out what was going on, the cat that Swindler saved spoke and called their attention. They found out the cat was a robot and the mastermind behind everything. Swindler was really about to die because of a robot cat. What a stupid girl. The cat said that Swindler and Hoodlum weren't part of its plans, but it'll still keep the collar on them. They all got paid by the cat, and it was time for them to enter phase 2 of its plans. It would be for them to attack the Shinkansen, which seemed to be an object people worshipped. The cat offered to pay $1 billion this time. Sign me up as well. That's easy money. They headed to a different location and hijacked a flying bus. Brawler really just tossed out the driver, and that was the driver's last shift ever. On their way, Hoodlum tried to make friends with Brawler and lied about how many years he was sentenced to prison. Of course, only Brawler was idiotic enough to believe him. Doctor, on the other hand, was trying to seduce Courier with her majestic melons, but he wasn't having it. Then Cutthroat showed his crackhead nature when he started smacking everything red on the bus. He did it until he accidentally enabled the emergency thrusters, and they lost control of the bus. They ended up crashing into a hotel. The crash must have affected their heads when they all suddenly forgot why they were there and started going off topic. Brawler laid claim to a suite, and Cutthroat laid claim to Swindler. The police robots suddenly showed up and Brawler did what he knew best. They got to the hotel bar, and Cutthroat licked off the blood that was on Swindler's cheeks. They need to get a restraining order on this guy. The robot cat then explained their mission further. It said the Shinkansen was the passage between Kansai and another city named Kanto. They needed to get there and steal goods from a vault. They needed all their abilities to break into the Kansai station there and get into the vault. Brawler, who was a bird brain, suggested he could just punch away everything. It even had defense systems that Hacker wouldn't be able to break into. It was practically an impossible mission. Everyone seemed to be pumped up for the mission, and it was easier for the cat because it was ready to blow off the head of anyone that wanted to drop out. Suddenly, a young lady and guy in white uniforms burst into the room. They were from the Kansai Execution Department, which specialized in dealing with Akudama. Everyone started fighting, but Hacker got out the window and escaped. What a useless wimp. Swindler tried to help Hoodlum, but he just ended up talking about how she messed with their database and made matters worse for her. This guy should just die already. Courier ended up calling his bike while dealing with the male executioner. He used the bike to blow up the place, and they escaped. They all met up at an abandoned factory and planned for their mission ahead. They went through their plan again inside the factory. The only way for them to board the Shinkansen was through the Kansai station. For 20 minutes, it would be disabled while goods were loaded. They had to split into teams to access the buttons of the elevator that needed to be pushed at the same time. Unfortunately for Swindler, she was paired with Cutthroat, and I couldn't imagine what that guy would do. The cat also said it wasn't sure of the security once they got inside, so it was basically up to them to figure it out. To make matters worse, they couldn't kill any guard cause it would sound the alarms. This meant that Cutthroat and Brawler were about to face their worst nightmares. When they were done, Swindler sat outside and wondered how she got into this mess. She asked Courier what made him start delivering stuff, and he said it was where he belonged. He accepted being a mailman was his destiny. Their operation then started with Swindler getting through the front gate first. Hacker then took control of the security cameras, which enabled them to get into the station. Swindler struggled to get up the flight of stairs to the elevator with her weak and unfit body while the rest breezed through. The two teams got to where the buttons were but had to get through the barriers that protected each one while time raced against them. While Cutthroat used his knives to penetrate the barrier one by one, Brawler Straight was just uprooting the pillars of it. What exactly is he even made of? By some stroke of luck, they managed to hit the elevator buttons at the same time. They got to the Shinkansen platform and used an item provided by the Black Cat to disable the electromagnetic barriers of the platform. It actually just took out electricity in the whole city, like a wide-range EMP. Hacker didn't have enough time to overwrite all the data because the stupid Brawler activated the EMP too early. Swindler then had to be the one to sneak onto the train because she weighed lighter. When she got in, she managed to take down the shields just in time for Courier to come in with his bike. The rest of the crew got in, and it was time for their next challenge. Due to the unexpected departure of the Shinkansen, they had less time to work with. They had to steal the vault fast before they got into the quarantine zone. The executioners suddenly broke into the train and got into a fight with them. Cutthroat and Brawler were told to stay back to keep them busy. Brawler managed to fling the female executioner like a sack of potatoes while the others went deeper into the train. Courier stayed behind because he said his bike was needed, and instead, Cutthroat followed the rest. Mostly because he wanted to be with Swindler. The obsession is crazy. The train suddenly sped up and they had barely 5 minutes left to get to the vault. While Courier fought the male executioner, he mistakenly shot Brawler, who just caught the bullet in his mouth. That was actually quite impressive. Mr. Executioner managed to beat the hell out of Brawler till he spat out blood. Cutthroat got a sudden rush from seeing the red blood and decided to join the fight. This guy really scares me. Swindler, alongside the Black Cat and Hacker, continued to the vault while the rest stayed back to fight. Even Hoodlum stayed back, and I was hopeful it would be his end. Swindler and her group continued and got to a point where the freight doors were just open. Hacker mentioned that he once found something connecting the Shinkansen to Kansai, but he couldn't wait to go to Kanto and be done with this dead city. The Black Cat stopped him as he spoke, saying he would be dead by the time he got there. It refused to say more about what it knew about Kanto when it was asked.
I know you're after that stupid flesh! This is what gives us executioners crap!
Crap.
Something similar to tear gas. Here.
While Cutthroat and the rest kept fighting, Brawler suddenly got really angry because he felt disappointed in himself for feeling fear at some point during the fight. This guy really is just an airhead. Hacker was still trying to break through one of the doors when they ended up in the absolute quarantine zone. It was a place that had the after effects of the bomb Kanto dropped on Kansai when they were at war. The Black Cats said they might still have a chance of survival if they got to the vault before they entered the decontamination zone. Hacker managed to open the door to the security systems and took control of it. Brawler somehow managed to get stabbed by one of the executioners and passed out after slamming his head. Courier then got to his bike and met up with the rest. He used his bike's laser to slice off the part of the train where the executioners were. Hacker then opened up the entrance to the vault, but the vault itself needed a seal. Brawler, as stupid as ever, forgot. He got stabbed and just fainted due to loss of blood when he wanted to go pry it open. With less than a minute left, the Black Cat suddenly turned into the seal needed. Swindler then opened up the vault, revealing 2 children inside. One of them played a flute that stopped the train in its tracks. Brawler immediately decided to go back to Kansai to finish his fight with the executioner. He still didn't understand how someone made him feel so much fear. He didn't even want the money again. If only they could send his share to me. Hoodlum tried to persuade him, mostly because he was just a conniving deadweight who didn't want to die. It happened to be that the young boy out of the 2 kids that they found was the Black Cat. He told them the mission wasn't over and they were to be delivered to a location back at Kansai. While they got off the train, Hacker stayed back and said he wanted to go to Kanto. Swindler persuaded him to follow them, but he wanted to go somewhere that wouldn't bore him. He managed to disable the collar on his neck and gave Swindler one of his drones as a parting gift. At least one of them is cool-headed and reasonable. The 2 executioners then woke up in a hospital, thankful that they managed to survive. The executioner's department head was then seen talking to her superiors in a hall. Holograms of masks appeared from pillars and told her the Akudama were still alive. Back at the quarantine zone, the Akudama were held up in a cave while it rained. Doctor asked the children to say who they were before they would continue with the mission. The young boy persuaded her with more money, but she didn't want it if she couldn't trust them. How much money could the boy even have? He had to be bluffing. Swindler then stopped her from interrogating them further and said the kids had their reasons for not disclosing who they were. Courier interrupted them and asked for the drop-off location. The kid then opened a book showing some coordinates that led to Expo Park. They were 2 digits that Courier couldn't figure out, and he was told he'd find out when they got there. Aren't they too young to be so secretive and lying? The boy then gave Swindler a container that would make food appear when she said the name. This would definitely be the answer to end world hunger. Everyone started eating, and Swindler gave the kids something to eat. But for some reason, they didn't understand the concept of filling their stomach. The boss of the executioners then came to see them and suspended them for failing at their mission twice. The female one tried to persuade her partner so they could look for the Akudama themselves, but he refused. Their boss said a search and destroy order would be declared on the Akudama, but there was nothing those 2 could do. The Akudama got ready to go back to Kansai, and Courier told them there was a shortcut they could use. Doctor called Swindler to the side and told her she wouldn't fall for her tactics while she pretended to be nice. Swindler then got into a conversation with Courier and tried returning his money still. He refused and said he only accepted money from jobs. I've never seen someone reject money so much. They got to Courier's secret entrance and met the male executioner there waiting for them. Brawler got blood flowing to all parts of his body as soon as he saw the executioner, and I mean every part.
Execution.
This! I'm gonna crush you this day,
But I'll be getting serious from the...
Courier then got on his bike to leave with the kids, but the executioner stopped them. While Swindler went to make sure they were all right, Doctor got sliced in 2. That definitely can't be self-medicated. Courier and Cutthroat continued with the fight, but Cutthroat got flung away like a pesky fly. Courier got on his bike and rammed into the executioner while he told Swindler to run with the kids. Hoodlum then found Brawler under a pile of rocks while he tried to run away. He tried to get Brawler to run away with him, but that backfired immediately because all the meathead knew was to fight. While Swindler got away, her path was blocked by a pile of pipes that crushed Cutthroat beneath it. The executioner dove to kill her but was held down by Cutthroat, who cut off his legs just to save her. The fact he went that far was scary and disturbing at the same time. Cutthroat then used the young boy as a shield and stabbed through his body to get the executioner. Luckily, the wound healed itself before Swindler broke down. Doctor then showed up with her wound stitched back. How exactly was she even able to do that? Doctor noticed that the executioner was sluggish because of his wounds from their previous fight. She said this was an opportunity for them to take him down and managed to stitch back Cutthroat's legs at the same time. Courier came back with his bike and picked up Swindler and the kids to leave again. The executioner tried to stop them, but Brawler slapped him back to the ground. Brawler then got into a one-on-one fight with him, despite his bad injuries. Nobody seems to care about their bodies in this show. At the same time, the executioner's partner was with their boss and demanded to join her partner. Her boss refused and told her the reason for their two-man system was because of the high death rate of executioners. The system gave them more reason to live, which increased their strength. Her boss told her that her partner left because he was already prepared to die. She then left to try and meet up with him.
Executing Akudama, they sought out their own deaths.
By the time she got there, the fight had ended. As she got to her partner, he gave up his last breath. Hoodlum was by the side and watched the dead body of his dear friend, Brawler. Filled with rage, he picked up the executioner's sword and rushed the female one. The rest had gotten to the coordinates. Swindler confronted Cutthroat about using the boy as a shield and slapped him for being reckless. That one should have definitely left a mark. The boy then turned the lever he found, revealing an underground bunker. Hoodlum met up with them before they entered the bunker and informed them of Brawler's demise. The young boy, which Swindler referred to as brother, didn't really care and said he didn't guarantee anyone's lives. This got Hoodlum really pissed off, and he attacked brother, but it didn't make any difference. Even a piece of shit like him could have compassion. Inside the elevator, Hoodlum returned a pouch to brother and apologized for his earlier behavior. Brother apologized as well. Then they arrived at Expo Park, which looked like an underground city. The city was used as a place to preserve the past culture before the war. They got to the rocket in the middle of the park, and brother told them he planned to go to the moon with it. You mean all this ruckus and dying was just for some space excursion? He then explained his origin to the Akudama. He was an experiment subject in a facility that carried out tests on him daily. The facility was filled with children who looked just like him. One day, his last experiment was done, but he was the only one left in the facility. The headmaster of the place then told him how he was made from other children who were created with the genes of immortality. It was from this same experiment that Sister was created. They were supposed to be used as offerings to Kanto. A facility that just played around with little children for profit is not what I expected. It was from there that he used the black cat, which was their professor, to gather the Akudama to free them. Since their mission was concluded, brother paid them and took off the collars on their necks. They then said their goodbyes and left for the rocket with everything ending happily. Or so they thought. Doctor attacked Sister and held brother as a hostage. The executioners then arrived at the scene, which meant Doctor was working with them. Brother tried to make a run for it, but the boss revealed to him that the image of the moon was an illusion. It was destroyed during the war as well. While the rest were fighting to escape, the boss of the executioners promised to take Doctor off the Akudama list. In the middle of the ruckus, brother managed to get Swindler and Sister into the rocket before he was finally captured. The rocket then took off. Big brothers are cool and all, but that wasn't the best thought-out plan. The rocket didn't have enough fuel, so they started crashing back to Earth not long after. Luckily, Swindler pulled the emergency escape lever and they ejected before they became ancient fossils. Sadly, Sister's body was crushed under the debris. Swindler managed to save her before she bled out. She definitely didn't look immortal under that wreckage. Meanwhile, the executioner's boss was being reprimanded by her superiors for being incompetent. They told her that the weight of her punishment depended on how she handled executing the rest of the Akudama. Bunch of uptight bosses for real. Give the woman a break. At the same time, Doctor was looking at the blood samples of the kids and found out their cells didn't age, which was most likely the cause of their immortality. Swindler and Sister, on the other hand, were still trying to get back to Kansai. Swindler seemed to have picked up bad language from the Akudama and threw her good morals down the drain. At the same time, the other executioner was assigned a new partner. But she was behaving like a spoiled brat and wanted to take on the Akudama alone as her last promise to her dead partner. Doesn't she understand what got him killed in the first place? Swindler met her fate when she got back to the city and saw wanted posters of her while she was trying to get food. The same thing happened to Hoodlum as well. They were all wanted, dead or alive. Unfortunately for Hoodlum, he met Doctor while a random guy tried to sell drugs to him. He showed a marker he put on Brother's pouch that revealed a location on a map. She then took him along with her after her persuasion, which involved some serious pain when she stepped on his third leg. Couldn't have imagined how that felt. Later on, Swindler and Sister managed to find an abandoned facility where they ate some canned food and freshened up. Swindler then cut her hair to change her appearance. Some guys who were using the facility as a hideout walked in and saw them. They were deciding whether to kill or sell the girls before Swindler killed all of them and protected Sister. One of them managed to get up from his stab wound, but was knocked out by Courier, who came into the place. Courier was only there to deliver Brother's pouch to Sister as requested. Swindler persuaded him to take them to where Brother was, but he just refused. This guy, and just refusing money, still baffles me. Courier eventually agreed to take them after Swindler said something that touched him. They went to Courier's safe house where the girls cleared out his pantry and ate like hoodlums that reminded me of my ex. Swindler tried bringing up ideas to look for Brother, but Courier shattered all her hopes. They thought hard and decided the best place to look for him would be the executioner's headquarters. Meanwhile, somewhere in a dark alley, Cutthroat was seen as he dragged his bloody body through the place, and all he could say was, "Red." He finally lost it this time. Later on, Doctor and Hoodlum were in a hotel room, and it looked like they had already gotten down to business. I see why Hoodlum followed her. He asked her why she chased the kids, and she said she just wanted control over life. She wanted to be able to tell things to live or die at will. Basically, she wanted to become God. She believed the children held the key to that. Another adult who can't stay away from kids. It's like a pandemic. Suddenly, they noticed a commotion that went on in the city. Some citizens started calling themselves vigilantes and killed Akudama. Swindler sent out a message which started the uprising. Amid the chaos, Cutthroat was having fun as he killed people as well and found his way to the executioner's headquarters. The boss was trying to handle the situation with the chief of police, but he looked like a wimp that would piss his pants at any moment. While Courier and Swindler snuck in, an alarm was set off that Akudama had got into the headquarters. On their way to the rooftop where they would rescue Brother, they drove past a large pool of blood that led to a heap of dead bodies. Cutthroat was there waiting for them and started to attack. All he could think of was killing and the color of blood. Talk about a complete nutjob. He spoke about seeing a large red halo above Swindler's head, which made him know wherever she was. He had been wanting to kill her for a long time. She ran out to avoid and hid in the restroom, but he just found her and broke down the door. It was something straight out of a horror movie. She managed to lure him into a room where the executioner's weapons were. She ambushed him and sliced off an arm, but he used the other one to strangle her. I guess his obsession with Red numbed out the pain. She then managed to stab and kill him finally. Good riddance. Courier pulled up with his bike and took them to the roof. By the time they got there, the helicopter meant to take Brother away had taken flight. Courier sped off the rooftop and followed them. Meanwhile, they were being tailed by Doctor and Hoodlum. Inside the helicopter, the executioners were shown the broadcast of the chaos in the city. They were told that Swindler started it and killed their subordinates in the headquarters for fun. Swindler of all people. Brother told them that Swindler couldn't do something like that, and he saw the executioners as the Akudamas. The citizens surrounded the Kansai police station, and the officers could barely calm them down. The boss and chief of police were still inside when they heard of the massacre at the headquarters. She regretted being in charge when these kinds of issues came up. She told the chief to declare the insurgents as Akudama and get rid of them as well. What a crazy woman. Meanwhile, Courier and Swindler got stopped by a roadblock along the way. Before they could think of a plan, the police robots there identified them as Akudama, but they soon started attacking the citizens and identified them as Akudama as well. The ones at the police station also became shish kebab in the process. Courier got to the train station where the executioners put Brother in a vault just like before, and onto the Shinkansen leaving for Kanto. The female executioner was about to get into a fight with Courier when Doctor barged in. She seduced the executioner's new partner and stuck a needle in his heart. What a young and foolish lad. She demanded that Brother be brought to her and threatened that the executioner would become an Akudama if she killed her. The executioner then stopped the vault. Swindler then convinced Hoodlum, who held her hostage, to be a better person than Brawler believed he was. He let her go, and Courier shot his hand which held the knife. but Doctor sprayed a gas on Courier's face, which knocked him out. She then revealed that she didn't stitch Brawler well, which led him to die of blood loss. She told the executioner to kill Swindler and Hoodlum, but wasn't able to when Courier shot the sword out of her hand. To their surprise, the citizens swarmed the station and wanted the Shinkansen to take them to Kanto. They really worshipped the train like a god. That's so stupid. Hoodlum used the opportunity to stab Doctor's neck, but she immediately sliced him back and killed him. The doors of the train opened and everyone rushed inside. Courier and Swindler went in as well since the Vault Brother was had entered the train as well. All that was left was the executioner who held her partner's body in her hands, a situation she experienced for the second time. The dead bodies of Hoodlum and Doctor, who got trampled on by the stampede, also lay there as the train left. The executioner's partner woke up in the hospital with bandages. He managed to survive thanks to his counterpart. She let him know how the rioters were tagged as Akudama and killed. He couldn't believe it and wondered what even made someone an Akudama. Their boss was praised by her superiors for a job well done. Didn't think genocide would be praised, but it is what it is. At the same time, Courier and Swindler seemed to have been caught in a loop that replayed the past of the time they met, and their past lives as well. Courier had started taking jobs from a young age, and got home one day to see his caretaker dead. The culprit ended up shooting off his arm, which led to his robotic hand. Swindler as well was able to pay the vendor back that time before she got arrested. Lucky her. If only it was true. A glitch seemed to have occurred that brought them back to their meeting point until the loop stopped and they were back in the Shinkansen. This was thanks to Hacker's drone, which Swindler had in her bag. Hacker then spoke through the drone and told them the program they just experienced was the true decontamination zone. It was made to separate their mind from their body. Quite the creepy process. They found no one else on the train and saw the vault which held Brother was already open. They headed outside to the city of Kanto, but just saw ruins of a city floating all around them. They got to the middle and saw a weird object that kept changing shape. Hacker told them it was a quantum supercomputer. It was created by the people of Kanto after the war to preserve their minds. Before Kanto took him, he was able to preserve the data of his mind and created a hologram with his original looks. The people must have been really obsessed with living forever. Basically, the entire world of Kanto was inside that object. They looked up and saw the children being held by the device. Kanto was transferring their data into their minds, since they really couldn't escape deteriorating after many years. Swindler jumped to try and save them, but was slammed back to the ground by a gravitational defense system. She wasn't going to accept the fate of the children, and still stupidly tried to attack despite the defenses. The decontamination zone must have fried her brain as well. Hacker then dove into Kanto's systems and got into a fight trying to save the kids. He got utterly beaten like a noob, but the kids were somehow able to help him fight back. They got free, and Swindler was able to get them back. With the little consciousness Hacker had left, he gave Swindler some coordinates and sent them back on the Shinkansen. As the train got back, the executioners blew it off the tracks. They managed to survive the attack, but Swindler had a broken leg and Courier had a broken arm. They were really two sides of the same coin. The city was put on high alert to look for them, and helicopters were in the sky with their searchlights. Brother had already given up on their escape, even though Sister tried her best to persuade him. Swindler finally forced Courier's coin back on him and told him to take the children to Shikoku. He had no choice this time but to accept, but I could have really used the cash anyway. Swindler went to distract the executioners while Courier escaped with the children. She tried to lie to them and said she was an ordinary citizen, but they called her bluff. Sadly, she immediately got stabbed and killed with a smile on her face. Even in death, she managed to still piss them off. The entire executioner's squad then chased down Courier and cornered him. He got into a fight with them with his flashy skills and cool bike. He was about to get stabbed, but Brother defended him with his body, which left Courier still slightly grazed by the sword.
Finally, checkmate.
A little girl showed up in the fight and shot one of the executioners because they killed her parents. Another uprising started in the whole city. This time, the citizens attacked the executioners for killing ordinary civilians. Hacker managed to leave a final gift by hacking the broadcast system to paint the executioners as the devil. I always said he was the coolest one of all of them. The boss tried to get the police chief to declare the rest of the citizens as Akudama, but he just blew off his head. That was not the reaction I expected. Courier used the chaos to take out the police station and its tower, and then escaped with the kids. He stopped at a point and told the kids to run past the mountains ahead. When they crossed, they would reach Shikoku. He turned back to deal with the pursuers that were on his tail. He destroyed the ships with everything he had to aid their escape, and took his last breath. The kids crossed the mountains and ended up where no one would hunt their lives again. A happy ending indeed. We lost all the cool guys thanks to these kids. Thanks for watching, fellow weebs. If you enjoyed this recap, dive into the next video or playlist. See you in the next recap.